Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com. I'm here today with a project update video for this Armortek 1/6 scale radio-controlled Russian T34 85 medium tank. Since the last project update video, the weathering has been added, and the model at this point here is ready for final assembly, which means the tracks, the last of the little bits of equipment, as well as other accessories, are ready to be mounted at this time. In this video, we're going to be going over the various tips and techniques that went into the model, bringing it up to the way we see it here. So stay tuned, relax, and enjoy the show. Picking up where we last left off, the tank's hull has been painted, and I also went ahead and took care of the other areas that still needed to have been touched up in the previous video. This would include the hubcaps like you see here, as well as also the rear sprocket, and by extension the front idler. At this point here, we're ready to slide off into weathering. To weather the model, I'm basically going to roll with the same format that I use on my 1/35 scale Russian tanks that are painted almost identically. Actually, no, not almost, they are painted identically. So the first is going to be a layer of diluted flat white on the surface to get that sun fade effect. That's done with diluted flat exterior white house paint that we have right here. It's exterior latex. The same paint was used to paint the turret stripes. That was in another video. And here I'm just going to add a little bit more water to it, diluting it to the point where I can get a nice translucent type effect, and that's going to be applied to all of the panels. Specifically, mostly on the center portions of the panels. I'll see if I'll be able to get it on camera, but right now I'm kind of running out of daylight, and I do have some pesky small little spots that are still waiting to dry up. As soon as they are at the point where I can throw paint on top of them, that's definitely when I'll start doing that. Either way, come hell or high water, this thing is definitely getting completed this afternoon, or actually more like this evening. Before I also go ahead and throw some paint on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask up the turret ring that we have here. I don't need to get any sort of that type of stuff on the inside portion of the model, specifically on the electronics. So I'm going to briefly just mask that guy right back up, and then from there, we could go ahead and actually start with the procedure. First step complete, the whitewash has been added, and already you can see some of the modulation starting to pop out. Remember, I only used diluted flat white for this. I didn't switch to a different type of color or anything else. What you see here is just the darker shade is the original base coat. Like I referenced before, you want to hit it in more or less the middle portion of the panel. You can deviate obviously here or there, add some dots and do things along those lines for special effects, but here's the end outcome of that. Because the white is so translucent, you can hit it with 2, maybe 3, possibly even more coats until you get the desired look that you want. What you see here is more or less 1 or 2 coats in certain areas, and you don't want to go all even with it. You want to maybe have some sections go lighter than others in order to achieve that beaten, faded look. The same is going to be true, by the way, for the next step. And as for what that is, well, I'm going to go ahead and now do the edging as well as some other spot modulation with Tamiya flat black. The flat black is diluted with rubbing alcohol in order to thin it out, and when that happens, I could go ahead and apply it in certain areas, and because it's been diluted much along the lines of the white, it's going to be very translucent, and because of that, you have extreme control on how light or how dark you want the mist in certain areas. This is really where the model really starts coming alive. Some people, in order to achieve a similar result, what they do is they paint the entire model black. They take white paint and they scribble all sorts of stuff on the model, and then they go ahead and add the layers of base coat that are diluted in order to get the modulation. As I always reference, I can't stand that technique because the problem is it's harder to keep up with maintenance on something like that, and if you need to do touch-ups, it also adds some extra complications. Because this tank is radio controlled, it will get scratched. It's just the nature of the beast, and it's better to go ahead and have something that's a little bit easier to touch up as opposed to something that's a little bit more challenging. Having said that, even though it's going to have a bunch of layers on it, it's still going to, this actually does add to the complexity of the paint job. For a while, I didn't really do stuff like this on the 1/6 scale tanks for that same reason. In case you need to do some touching up, it's easier in that regard. However, by adding a few extra steps, you can make the model be a little bit trickier to touch up. However, it's still a way, in my opinion, it's a net win because the outcome is still a lot better. Also, one thing I also say, whenever a customer buys a tank from me, or a radio control tank specifically, regardless of 116 or 1.6, I always give them little bottles of touch-up paint in order to take care of any sort of issues that potentially may arise. Needless to say, in addition to the hull, obviously the turret went ahead and got the lightning effects as well. Hopefully it's coming on this light over here. It is dusk right now when I'm filming, so this may or may not be able to be seen in full effect. But what is going to happen now is going to be the black. With the sun calling it quits for today, I went ahead and brought them all back into the secondary shop in order for the night shift to wrap up the last of the weathering. The next layer, as I mentioned before, is panel lining, or I should say counter shading, and that's done with this guy right here. As I mentioned before, Tamiya alcohol diluted flat black. This solution here is literally just a little bit of Tamiya flat black with a bunch of isopropyl alcohol. You mix it up, and once it's done, it's going to be super, super thin, but it acts like a wash, and a controllable wash where you can add it and do certain effects. One of the effects that this stuff is awesome for is actually on use on interiors. If you want to have that interior get all that nice grimy look to it, this stuff here is the way to go, with the exception that you paint your interior with enamels. If you paint your interior with enamels, then this is the stuff to use. If you don't paint the stuff with the enamels and use standard latex or acrylic paints, then yeah, you don't want to use this. It's just not going to work out for you. The other thing that's really cool is that this paint auto-generates for me. As you can see, this paint bottle has been refilled countless times. The best way to create one of these type of solutions is to have a almost empty bottle of Tamiya flat black, and then you just go ahead and add the alcohol, mix it up, and you're good to go. Well, when you use it up, again, it automatically generates, because if you have another bottle of Tamiya flat black and that one runs low and or dry, like this one is pretty much over here, I go ahead, drop some isopropyl alcohol in it, mix it up, and I top off the bottle. If you're a guy like me, you burn through quite a few bottles of Tamiya, and I specifically go through a lot of Tamiya flat black because I use this stuff to airbrush the paint onto my single piece vinyl tracks. As I always mention in videos, yes, I'm going to sneak that into this one here. Even in one of my Armortek build videos, yes, if you're building a smaller scale model with single piece vinyl tracks, don't want to use spray paints. No, don't do that. No spray paints, no enamels, and yes, all spray paints are enamels. Don't do that. What you want to do is acrylics, and I like to use Tamiya, but I'm pretty sure the other ones are just as good, but Tamiya for me is my go-to. This will prevent the chemicals from causing any sort of negative reaction with the single piece vinyl tracks. So this is definitely the stuff to use if you're going to paint it, for specifically if you want your tracks to actually last a long time and look good for during that period of time. However, no point going more into that in this video. That's a quick little side tangent. Alright, so to paint this on, I'm going to basically use the same technique that I used on the white, with use of the airbrush. However, rather than focusing on the center portions of the panel, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to focus on the corners, and specifically the edging. You can also use it for streaking as well, and you can also use it for modding. That's like when you have a small little spot here or there, and it's just a discoloration in the paint. Same exact technique is used for that as well. The other thing to mention is, just like with the white, where because it's so translucent, you have plenty of capabilities to either thicken, or I should say making the part more opaque than others. You can hit the same spot about 3 or 4 times in order to get the different shades. And if you make an oopsie and you put something in the wrong spot and you don't like it there, fear not, the first coat, don't worry about it. It just kind of blends in with the remainder of the paintwork, and you'll be good to go. It's after the 3rd or 4th round is when you start noticing the opacity building up. But again, you'll see what I'm referring to after that has been applied to this model here. After the night shift was able to accomplish what it needed to do, this is the end result right here. As you can see, there is a lot of double shading going on, a lot of counter shading, gradation, and the layering effects are really starting to jump out. That's really all that needs to have been done with the airbrush. The only thing that's left to do with the airbrushing is to add the exhaust and the soot effects found on the exhaust manifolds, as well as the soot effects found on the carbon fouling on the armament. But more to that to come later. And yes, the curtains most certainly match the drapes. This thing is going to look really, really great once it's married permanently to the hull. The next step is to switch from airbrush to paintbrush, and I'm going to be using the Tamiya panel line accent to further get into all those little nooks and crannies, weld beads, and fastener sections, and that's really going to be something that's going to make this thing just leap out at you. Specifically for the row wheels. The row wheels always look great with Tamiya panel line accent. Obviously, when you're doing panel line accent on a model this size, the rules are slightly different compared to a small 135. This one here, you're going to use a lot more paint thinner onto the surfaces in order to help dilute and guide the accent where it needs to go. Otherwise, you can have some, well, let's just say interesting effects. One area I'm going to specifically focus on is this engine deck over here for reasons that are fairly obvious. If there's any place where grime builds up, it's going to be on these sections over here, specifically on T34, which would be diesel powered. So yeah, these sections I really got to pay attention to. Oh, in addition to taking care of the external weathering, I also went ahead and weathered up the underside here of the blower, as well as the duct insert. This too is going to look even better once the panel line accent gets added. Skipping ahead, we get to see what the model looks like with not only the panel line accent added, but the chipping has done as well. If I go ahead and briefly walk around the vehicle, you can probably see all of the layers of the weathering jumping out at you. The Tamiya panel line accent does a great job with giving extra modulation to the model, as well as also getting into all of the little nooks and crannies, giving it that nice stained look that we have here, as well as also being a good substance to add the streaks that also, again, help and enhance the streaking that was done with the airbrush previously. On top of that, the panel line accent does a good job with adding small little stains on the surface in random locations. It just gives just so much more added realism and texture to the paint job itself, and it's one that is very noticeable, specifically once the procedure is completed and you get to compare and contrast it compared to the way it was before with just the airbrushing. If we go on the turret over here, it's really noticeable around the hatch section where we have that nice stain going, which again would be absolutely perfect for something like this with a white stripe. Obviously white gets dirty very quickly, and for something like this being outdoors as well as being used in combat, yeah, the white would definitely start to weather quite quickly. You can see that really in great effect over here, staining going on these axis panels, as well as getting into this interior section here of the blower sections. It's going to look even better once the grills are dropped in place, which will be something that will be done in the next video. With the panel line accent out of the way, the very last technique that was done at this time was the distressed edge and the chipping effects. For this is done with the use of dry brushing, specifically with a fan brush right over here. And for the paint, I use, well, none other than Rust-Oleum Flat Black Enamel. This is the same stuff that I use on all of my builds, both large and small, and again, for the exact same effects. The reason why I like to use enamel paint for this type of application is because, unlike acrylics with the enamel, it's actually reversible. So let's just say I'm applying a chip or something and something doesn't work out, or I don't like the way it was applied. Well, I'm not set in stone. I can take a paintbrush with some paint thinner on it, just swab the area down, and basically just wipe it off as if it never occurred. Or I could go ahead and knock down the translucency a bit so it's there, but it's not nearly as visible or as obtrusive as it was with full opacity. This is something that you just can't do with acrylics. When you put acrylic on a model, you're kind of stuck with it. The only thing that comes close is with a rag of a little bit of denatured alcohol. You could go ahead and potentially smear it off, but the issue is that, one, if the model is painted with acrylics, or in this case exterior latex, that's not going to work well for you at all. Stuff is going to go sideways very quickly. And also, even with the alcohol, a lot of times it just doesn't fully get it off, or it'll have an effect of staining the area, which is, again, not doing yourself any favors. For the model here, because it is painted with exterior latex, and by extension, a lot of other models I use acrylics on, the use of the enamel is perfect for the chipping because of its reversible nature, with the use of just a little bit of paint thinner. With the Dry brushing applied. You can see how the distressed sections give the model so much more added life. As well as giving the model a little bit more of a personality. All three of these techniques combined together yield for some very excellent looking results. And well, the model's definitely looking excellent in this type of format. Even though the model's at this point here, the weathering is not totally complete yet. There are still 2 more effects that I need to do. One of which is involving the exhaust manifold. I need to go ahead and add the rust as well as the soot effects on these sections over here. As well as also some carbon fouling to be added on the coax MG, as well as also a little bit on the end here of the main 85. On the bow MG, you can see what the powder fouling looks like added to the end of the SG43 over here. Or the DT, I think it's the DT, my bad, on the DT over here. And it will make the model look just that much more complete with those effects added. And yes, I have to say this, MGs, when fired, will leave powder fouling areas along the locations, and same is also true for the main environment. One individual out there had an argument with me a few years ago, thinking that that's just not the case, that they used wonder powder back in the day that just magically didn't corrode or do any sort of fouling, which is completely and patently false if anyone's ever shot a gun before, let alone one that is using 1940s era ammunition. The stuff was corrosive as hell, and because of that, fouling is most certainly a thing. But I digress. As for those effects, more likely that will be discussed in the next video, but right now, the next thing to do is to throw in the tracks. However, that is going to be the topic for the next video update, which more likely will be posted, good news for you, not too long after this one here makes its debut. As I mentioned probably in the previous video, my to-do list for this project is becoming increasingly shorter as every day passes, so it's not going to be too long until this one here, well, is ready for prime time. But of course, all that's going to be discussed in the next 2 or 3 videos that are left in this project lineup. And with that, that wraps up this project update video for this 1/6 scale radio-controlled Armortek T34 85 medium tank. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel, where it's a great way to keep up to date on new posted content, being 1/6 scale project update videos like this one over here, or my other type of content being smaller scale model showcase videos when they get posted. Another way to keep in the loop of new posted content is by liking us on Facebook, where I have more photographs of this particular build that have been posted all the way since the project start, as well as photographs of the other smaller and larger scale builds that have been seen on this channel in the past. Furthermore, don't forget to swing by eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 and 1/16 scale builds and detail components. Thanks again. I'll be seeing you all again on the next one. See you there.